Homeric origins.
Today, I'm going to take a critical look at the purpose for which Gobekli Tepe was built. There have been several speculations concerning this archaeological edifice. So come with me. So Gobekli Tepe is one of the most important archaeological discoveries of modern times and numbers among most iconic archaeological sites worldwide. The hill sanctuary of Gobekli Tepe was created by communities of complex hunter-gatherers at the dawn of the Neolithic era. Today, the artificial mound or tell of Gobekli Tepe and the limestone plateau upon which the structure of Gobekli Tepe were crafted and built form the archaeological site of Gobekli Tepe. Gobekli Tepe is situated in southeast Anatolia. Jamus mountain range lies some 15 km northeast of the modern town of Sanlofa and 2.5 km east of Orenchik village. The site is comprised of a star-shaped natural limestone plateau upon which an artificial mound or tell has accumulated. The site lies in Upper Mesopotamia between the upper and middle reaches of the rivers Euphrates and Tigris in the foothills of the Taros Mountains in the region generally known as the Fertile Crescent. Gobekli Tepe is a regional landmark. The tell itself is 15 meters high, corresponding to an elevation of 785 meters above sea level, making it the highest point of the Jamus mountain range. As such, it stands above the Haran Plain, which extends to the south towards Syria and overlooks the plains extending to the east and the north around the site. Looking to the northeast, the mountain area of Karakadak is frequently visible on the horizon, and to the north, the Taros mountain can often be discerned in the distance. To the west of the site, the landscape is dominated by nearby mountain ridges. Gobekli Tepe translates as Potbelly Hill, a name which accurately describes the site's appearance, a large hill featuring of a quasi-alternating sequence of mounds and hollows on an otherwise flat limestone plateau. The mound of Gobekli Tepe is comprised of megalithic stone structures as well as many other known monumental buildings erected by groups of complex hunter-gatherers in the early Neolithic between 10th and 9th millennium BC. The monumental structure have been interpreted as component of a supra-regional Neolithic ritual center and appear as architecturally and artistically highly sophisticated stone buildings dominated by T-shaped pillars. These buildings were continuously rebuilt, used and then buried. But was it intentionally buried? The link to my previous video on this is in the description. So it was buried over a span of approximately 1,500 years and have been partially uncovered. The Neolithic structures are set on a limestone plateau which creates not only a magnificent elevated setting but would also have provided a raw material for the stone buildings erected within this landscape. The local origin of the stone is attested by Neolithic quarrying activities and workshop areas which have been identified on the adjacent plateau. The archaeological site of Gobekli Tepe is covered by steppe-like vegetation with grass and low shrubs with a low mulberry tree on top of the mound dominating the scene. So let's now look at why this ancient monument was constructed in the first place. The hunter-gatherers who built the temple lived in a world that predates writing, metal or pottery, and at a time when archaeologists thought humanity had yet to group together to worship with priests and sacrifices. Yet, These Neolithic worshippers somehow organized themselves and found a way to cut and transport these 16-ton stone pillars up a hill and arrange them in circular ritualistic pattern. Was it a ritual place? The hill was littered with an enormous amount of Neolithic flint tools, knives, choppers, and projectile points. These tools are not out of the ordinary, but the sheer number of them is something of a phenomenon, and the fact that they were used to build a religious site in a time when many historians and archaeologists believe temples and religious practice of this kind did not yet exist, make this an even more interesting discovery. Now, this should point to the fact that Gobekli Tepe was a religious or ritual site. The historian Clyde Smith believed that what he called this cathedral on a hill was a pilgrimage destination attracting worshippers up to 160 kilometers. The discovery of Gobekli Tepe suggests, at least to the archaeologists working there, that the human sense of the sacred and the human love of a good spectacle may have given rise to civilization. As excavator Clyde Smith put it, first came the temple, then the city. Smith believes that civilization rose not due to ecological reasons as has been the consensus, but rather that civilization is a product of the human mind, a theory that will change the landscape, archaeology, and our understanding of history. Even with these new theories and changes in understanding the development of civilization, religion, and cities at present, Gobekli Tepe still raises more questions for archaeology and prehistory than it answers. The site seemed to have lost its relevance and was abandoned in the 18th millennium BC, but it clearly has strong implications for our understanding of the ancient world today. What was the importance of this monument? Gobekli Tepe is regarded by some as an archaeological discovery of great importance, since it could profoundly change the understanding of a crucial stage in the development of human society. According to Ian Hodder of Stanford University, Gobekli Tepe changes everything. If indeed the site was built by hunter-gatherers, as some researchers believe, then it will mean that the ability to erect monumental complexes was within the capacities of these sorts of groups, which would overturn previous assumptions. Some researchers also believe that the construction of Gobekli Tepe may have contributed to the later development of urban civilizations, or as excavator Klaus Schmidt put it, first came the temple, then the city. In addition to its large dimension, the side-by-side existence of multiple pillar shrines makes the location unique. There are no comparable monumental complexes from its time. Since its discovery, however, surface survey have shown that several hills in the greater area also have T-shaped stone pillars. Example, the Hamzan Tepe, Karatan Tepe, Habesuvan Tepesi, Sefer Tepe, Tesli Tepe. All these exist, but little excavation has been conducted on this. Most of these constructions seem to be smaller than Gobekli Tepe, and their placements evenly between contemporary settlements indicate that they were local social ritual gathering places, with Gobekli Tepe perhaps as a regional center. So far, none of the smaller sites are so old as the lowest level 3 of Gobekli Tepe. This could indicate that this type of architecture and social activity originates at Gobekli Tepe and then spread to other sites. At present, Gobekli Tepe appears to raise more questions for archaeology and prehistory than its answers. It remains unknown how a population large enough to construct, augment, and maintain such a substantial complex was mobilized and compensated or fed in the condition of pre-sedentary society. Scholars have been unable to interpret the pictograms and do not know what meaning the animals' relief had for visitors to the site. The variety of fauna depicted, from lions and boas to birds and insects, makes any single explanation problematic, as there is little or no evidence of habitation, and many of the animals pictured are predators. The stone may have been intended to stave off evils through some forms of magic representation. Alternatively, they could have served as totems. The assumption that the site was strictly cultic in purpose and not inhabited has been challenged as well by the suggestion that the structures served as large communal houses, similar in some ways to the large plank houses of the northwest coast of North America with their impressive house posts and totem poles. It is not known why every few decades the existing pillars were buried to be replaced by new stones, as part of a smaller concentric ring inside the older one. Human burials may have occurred at the site. The reason the complex was carefully backfilled remains unexplained. Based on current evidence, it is difficult to deduce any certain about the originating culture or the site's significance. What do you think is the reason why this monument was built, used and buried after all? Kindly remember to drop your thought in comment section, and don't forget to like this video, share with your friends and family on social media and elsewhere if you enjoy it. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
Homeric origins.